Went for a rainy walk this morning. It's raining.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know what else I've been up to.
Lots of just dog sitting, I'm sure.
Yeah, that tends to be the thing. Dogs take over my life, which is a nice thing. It's not bad.
No, it's not a bad thing. I miss Ollie taking over. I've
Yeah.
really missed him this week that I've been away. Yeah.
What have you been up
So
to anyway?
oh my gosh, I've been having a great time down in Cape Town, really exploring and just having having a lot of fun. So like spending lots of time with family, but also getting to see friends that I've not seen in ages, and then also like just doing really cool things. So I went on a foraging course in one of the farms. Yeah, that was amazing. That was
Oh my
really
god,
cool.
I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
that was so cool. When you
What was the
come to South
highlight?
Africa, you're gonna have to come and do it with me.
Yeah, I
So
will. What was the highlight?
honestly, I think the highlight was probably so we arrived, we got coffees, and then we started walking through the gardens. They were
Hmm.
just picking things and teaching us about them, and like we were just eating as we went. And then at the end, they'd made this massive like banquet of food for us to eat. That was for sure, I think, the highlight. Just
I mean,
trying it all and seeing really interesting ways of cooking these native indigenous South African ingredients was incredible. So that was
it
definitely the
was.
highlight.
I love that. Food is always the best bit of everything.
Of course. So I think that's been amazing. And then I went for a beautiful walk with one of my friends, Kirsten Bosch Botanical Gardens. That was amazing as well.
I love a botanical garden.
It was just so beautiful, and you've got the mountains, and they've got all the different like local plants, because Cape Town is like a very different, they've got very different flora and fauna to like Johannesburg, because
Okay.
we here in Cape Town, it's the winter rain, and it's a completely different environment. Lots of I want to say fynbos, but you're not gonna know what fynbos is. Lots of plants that like succulents, and it's just really cool. So it's a completely different environment to be in down here.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds really.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And then I went to the forest school. That was so cool,
Yes, you
Hattie.
did.
Yeah. It's just been a really good trip down to Cape Town. I've really just enjoyed it. Yeah.
And what did you find the most, I don't know, what was your most unexpected thing about the forest school?
So obviously through our course, they keep telling us like it doesn't matter what your space looks like, you can make it work. Right? You can
Yeah.
literally be in a completely concreted area in a school and you can make it work. And they keep saying that, but I'm not really like, I hear it, but I don't fully understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think seeing the school, which it was just beautiful. So it all is taking place like in a garden, very big, very beautiful garden, in a house property.
So not
And then they've got two different, very close by forest paths. And so they
okay.
do those as well twice a week.
Oh, nice. So it's like they've got quite a bit of I guess variety.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so they've got the little house, which is where they do, I mean, the garden definitely gives like foresty vibes. Like if I was a 3-year-old to 5-year-old there, you just run into the plants and you're in the jungle. So I think for me, that the main thing I took away is it is possible to do anywhere. It's just being out in nature.
Yeah, I truly believe that. And I think if you have the intention to make it beautiful,
Yeah,
then and to make it as wild as possible, then you so can. Like, there's so many ways, isn't there?
it is. It
So,
is.
hi everyone. We are Understory Learning, and I'm Hattie,
And I'm Caitlin.
and we're here to share with you our adventures as we explore the local forests and outdoor areas around us. And we're happy to have you with us on this journey. We're going to have a look at birds today. And we'll have an understory of the week towards the end, which is always a very exciting part of the
Mhm.
podcast. And we also want to hear from you. So if anything that we talk about over the coming episode resonates with you or sparks any curiosity within you or brings back any experiences that you've had, we want to hear about it. Send it to us.
You can message us on Instagram. We are understory_learning. Or you can pop us an email at understorylearning@gmail.com. And today, Hattie, we do actually have an understory from one of my friends who sent one
This is
in.
so exciting.
I
I'm excited to
know.
hear it.
This is our
Stay
first
tuned.
understory from an outsider.
Yes, great. Setting the
From not
ball
us.
rolling. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very exciting.
So I have got a thought of the week that I thought we could start with.
Ooh,
And that thought of the week is
I'm excited.
by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it is Adopt the Pace of Nature. Her secret is patience. What do you think to that?
Wow, what a profound quote.
I
Right.
know.
I think often, yeah, I just love, even before you said that her secret was patience, that's sort of where I was thinking. Like, nature it doesn't work on anyone else's schedule. She takes her time, she works as she needs to. We're always like, go, 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 got to get all these things done. But I think just sometimes remembering to just slow down a bit is always amazing and so good for us. But I think also just sometimes being present in nature and spending
Mhm.
time in nature also just allows us to slow down. I don't know if you feel the same, but I always feel like I am a little bit more calm and relaxed when I'm out spending some time in nature, and then you don't feel the pressures of everything else that's going on as much.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. Anytime you step out in nature, you step into a forest or you step out to the beach or you go anywhere that's wild, you can see that nothing is there quickly. Like nothing that is there has happened overnight. It's all taken years and years and years and centuries in some cases
To get there,
to
yeah.
get to that point. So it puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Like all of the worries that you have in that day, if you're worried about what you said to somebody or how you said it, or you're worried about what somebody thinks about you, or you're worried about what's going to happen when you go out with your friends later, and you've got all of these anxieties because the world is so full of things that can make you worry. It just makes you think, oh, none of it matters. Like I am
No,
just tiny compared to all this. Like I wasn't born before most of this started growing. This is
exactly.
just going to keep on going even when I'm just like not here. So it is really nice to kind of use nature as a way to put things into perspective and to remind you to slow down, because the good things happen when you take your time over them, don't they?
Definitely. And I often think about gardens and plants growing and connecting that often for the parents who,
Mhm.
so we're both teachers, and often I'll think about how we've almost got these expectations that all the children need to be at the exact same place at the exact same time. But if you
Yeah.
plant a tomato seed, it's going to grow very differently to an apple seed, right? And the plants are going to grow, but in their own time, and they're going to take what they need from the environment, and they're going to develop as they need to and as they should, because there's no point in rushing it along. You can't expect an apple tree to grow at the same pace as a tomato plant. It's just not going to
No,
happen.
exactly. And for an apple to for you to actually get apples from it is going to take you many, many more years than a tomato plant anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be so much more patient.
You do. And I think that also, I always try and connect that for the parents, because the world that we live in just expects us to
Hmm.
be these go, 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 stress, stress, stress people. It's just not a good way to live. So I love that quote:
No,
live like nature,
exactly.
slow
Me
down.
too. When I first read it, I misread the word pace for peace, and I was like, adopt the peace of nature. I was like, yes, absolutely.
Both of those work. Both of
But
those
I
are
mean, it
beautiful.
does fit, doesn't it? It's like if you slow down, you're going to feel more peaceful, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have so much more space to think about things, and so much more space to go about your life, and to actually have a meaningful and intentional day.
Completely. So, actually, I just want to take this moment to put a disclaimer out there. This is our space, our podcast, to just chat through everything that we have learned as we are processing and learning all the information that we need for our forest schools education portfolio. We do a lot of research, but at the end of the day, these are our opinions.
Hmm.
There's new research coming up all the time, so things are changing. If there's anything that you disagree with, feel free to reach out to us. If you've read information that says something different, please feel free to share that with us. You can pop us an email or a message on Instagram. Yeah, just keep in mind that this is the research that we've done. These are our thoughts. And you are more than welcome to disagree with them, but I just wanted to
No.
put that one out there.
We're learning too, so if we can learn from you, that is a gift. So please feel free.
The more information, the merrier.
Yes, don't hold back. We
Yeah,
won't.
we never do. Hattie,
Birds.
yeah, so we kind of came onto this topic considering last week we were mentioning the changes in seasons and
Mm.
how I've got spring happening. And so I'm seeing an influx of birds, but also you are seeing a bunch of birds at the moment who are just enjoying the fruits of the trees.
Yeah.
But before we delve into the birds that we're seeing, do you have a favorite bird?
Do, and it's so I've got one that beats all of them, but I love a lot of birds, so it's hard coming up with a favorite. But I think my favorite bird is a blackbird.
Okay.
They I would argue that blackbirds are the sound of the British countryside. So I've
Okay.
grown up with their song. It's really, really beautiful. It's like our soundtrack. It really cuts through, like it's loud and it's clear and
Mhm.
it's so melodic and it cuts through anything. So I remember a time when I was in Timișoara in Romania, and it was the evening and there was traffic and there was like people, and it was not a quiet moment, but there was this blackbird in this tree and I could see it because so the sky was kind of dusk. It was starting to
Yes.
get dark, and so there was this silhouette of this blackbird, and its song was so clear and bright and loud, and it was so lovely. It was a really wholesome moment. And I just think they're so lovely. And a little bit about blackbirds. There's quite a lot of mythology around them, and I love this bit.
You do
So I'm
love the
so
mythology.
into
I'm
it.
always so intrigued to hear all about the mythology.
So a lot of different kind of parts of the world and different cultures and stuff take different ideas on things.
Hmm.
But it's quite interesting when you start to see themes that interweave between all of them, I always think. And there's quite a lot that links like birds to the afterlife,
Okay.
with a lot of different birds that I've looked at. Like there's a lot of people who say like this kind of bird transports souls to the
Yeah.
afterlife or keeps them company on their journey or something, which is really
Hmm.
nice, I think. And it makes sense with birds. Like they're in the sky, they're sometimes there, they're sometimes not. So their behavior kind of lends to that sort of myth and legend to come about, doesn't it? Which I think is lovely. So, with blackbirds, supposedly when you listen to their song, it transports you to the other world or to like a higher existence. It
Oh,
wasn't clear whether that higher existence was talking about something like heaven or whether it was talking about something like your higher version of yourself. It wasn't
yes.
clear, but I was like, that's nice because it uplifts you, makes you feel just a little bit stronger and more at peace with yourself, which I love.
I love that.
Yeah, and there's another one as well.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
in Celtic legend,
Okay.
apparently, if you put a blackbird feather underneath somebody's pillow, then they'll tell you all of their secrets.
Wow, okay. Well, that's an easy one to test.
It's a bit of mischief there that
I love
the
that.
blackbirds are helping people make. Yeah, and then there's a nursery rhyme as well called Sing a Song of Sixpence, which is about um 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with this
Yeah.
because with my love for music, I was like, maybe it's got something to do with the melody. Maybe they've kind of used the melody as like based it past Blackbird's song or something. And so I was kind of trying to analyze the two, which was not a very easy job, I must
No.
say.
But what did you find?
Well, it doesn't kind of match note for note, but
Okay.
then when you listen to like the phrasing of the blackbird and the phrasing of the song, I thought that there was some similarities there, which was quite nice. But I'm not sure if that was intentional or maybe it was just
Fascinating.
let's put a
Maybe.
melody.
Wow, that is so fascinating that there's that connection. And I love that you spent time trying to figure it out. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that was fun. If I'd have had more time, I would have gone into more depth with that. But that's the sort of thing you can start spending hours and hours and hours, and then you start looking at
Completely
other
down the
things.
rabbit holes, right?
Really, I had to really hold myself back. So that's my favorite bird is the blackbird.
Beautiful.
What about yours?
So I also have a great love for a lot of birds. And I had to think quite long and hard about which was my favorite. At the end of the day, I ended up going with the one that first popped to my mind when I thought about which is my favorite, which is the Malachi Kingfisher.
Oh my gosh, I love kingfishers.
Yes, me too. They are so beautiful. And the Malachi Kingfisher is this gorgeous blue bird. And obviously, as you know, I'm a huge fan of blue. So it's this gorgeous blue color, and they're just so little, but they've got such an impact on the world. And they're just, I don't know, there's just something so special about them for me. I didn't really go into any of the history or the mythology in there. I really need to start doing that more, because I always know you're going to bring the mythology, and I never do.
Storytelling aspect, I just love it so much.
It's so fascinating.
And kingfishers are gorgeous as well. They're so shy, aren't they? And so it's quite hard to see them. So when you do see them, it's a really magical experience.
No, it is completely magical. And I think there's something just so, any animal, any insect, any living creature that has that blue shine to them, I think is extra special, because it's such an unnatural color in nature, right? It's just not something you see very often. But there is this magical aura about them, and they're always around the water. And then when you get to see one catching a fish, that just makes me giddy inside. Now I'm like, do they have any mythology? Let me quickly double check. Do you get kingfishers up in the UK?
Yeah, we do. We do get kingfishers. I don't know like their specific name or anything, but we get kingfishers on our riverbanks, and I think I've only seen one once because they're so hard to see.
Yeah, they are.
But every time I'm near a river, I'm like, kingfisher, kingfisher. Is there one? I know they're my sister's favorite bird. She loves kingfishers.
Oh, that's. Does she have the been saying Malachi Kingfisher, but it's actually a malachite kingfisher.
Is malachite a type of stone as well?
You are right. It is. It's an opaque green mineral.
Maybe that's got a link to
Beautiful.
to the name of the bird then.
Maybe that would make sense, because it's quite decorative, quite beautiful. It's got quite a lot of patterns. So then it does possibly, that could be, although it tends to be much more green, the stone, whereas the malachite kingfisher is definitely blue. But so mythology wise, there's not a lot of it. The ancient Greeks tell the tale of Halcyone, who's the daughter of Aeolus, who was turned into a kingfisher after the tragic death of her husband. The gods, moved by her grief, calmed the seas for her to nest, giving rise to the term halcyon days, for a period of peace. So it's going to do with the fact that they nest on the cliffs, and so then there's not as much water and stuff. Fascinating.
It is really interesting how these very small birds, they have piqued so much interest
completely
in people.
Yeah.
Centuries.
And while you were talking about your blackbirds and how they often thought to take souls up to a higher plane or something along those lines, it just reminded me of in the Mexican culture, and I spent a year and a half living in Mexico, and a bird that you see there quite often is hummingbirds. And hummingbirds are so special in the Mexican culture, because they are thought as this symbol of somebody who's passed on coming to greet you. And so there's a whole bunch of other information to delve into there, but firstly, being able to just see hummingbirds so freely was incredible. I think that that's actually often a connection for a lot of cultures, is that connection to loved ones, or that carrying of the soul.
Yeah, I think so. It makes sense to me that people would draw those conclusions.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because they fly so high to the sun, right? And so they're almost like delivering it to heaven.
That's true. Yeah. I love it.
So yeah. Hattie, do you want to start us off on some migratory birds that you've researched?
Yeah, so I looked at 2 migratory birds. My 2 migratory birds that I looked at are the swallows and swifts. And I didn't know this until I started looking into it. But as I started looking into it, I realised that we share these birds.
Yeah.
You and I. So we get them in our summer, and then you get them in your summer.
Exactly.
I thought, yay, this is great.
I know, it's fantastic, because we're able to share information, and my migratory bird is the same thing as it moves between your country and my country, which is just fantastic.
Great. Did you choose swallows and swifts as well? Okay, right. I'm excited. So swallows. I'll begin with. They are just gorgeous. We are so used to seeing them here because my parents have a farm, and on that farm we have barns. And there's, I think, two types of swallow. Maybe there's more. I don't know. But one of those types is a barn swallow,
Yeah.
and that's the one that we see. And they like to roost in barns. They like to be in the open countryside because there's lots of those flying insects and stuff that they can eat. And when you see them flying around, they're kind of doing all these acrobatics, and it's really, really beautiful, really elegant as they're trying to catch all these flies and other things that are flying around. So they like to be in the open countryside. They have these forked tails that have streamers, so really long feathers coming off them. It's so gorgeous.
Amazing.
They're kind of a bluey black colour, and their belly is cream, and then their throat is red.
Interesting.
So they're quite a colourful bird, and we always see them nesting. So when June comes around, then they've started nesting, and you'll see their nests kind of in the top of the barn, and then you'll see their babies, kind of their chicks, just pop their heads over, see what's going on. And they're so cute. They're so noisy as well. They're always twittering around. And swallows are another one that there's a lot of beautiful mythology, which I'll go into now. In pretty much everything that I've read, they are closely linked with humans in like a protection kind of way.
Okay.
So a lot of the mythology talks about how they have a very symbiotic relationship with humans. My first kind of awareness of swallows came from a book that I read by, not a book, a story. It was a short story, I think, by Oscar Wilde. And it's a children's story, and I can't remember what it's called, but I remember it so vividly. And there's this statue, and this swallow lands on this statue, and this statue has, like, I think, a ruby or an emerald eye or something.
Wow.
And it tells the swallow, take these jewels and give them to the poor, like give them to the people that need assistance. And so the swallow does that, but in the process of this, and I'm going to be probably not doing this story any justice because it's been probably about 20 years since I've read it. But in the process of this kind of conversation between the bird and the statue, and the bird going and giving the gems and coming back, and the swallow misses its chance to migrate. And I remember it was so heartbreaking, but also it so clearly showed the selflessness of the swallow and how caring it was and how just sweet it was. And every single story that I read when I was researching this bird the other day kind of had the same vibe. And a couple of very notable things were, it's a symbol of freedom.
Okay.
So it's a popular tattoo for people. I imagine it's probably because, like, if you get a tattoo of a swallow, it's because you feel very passionate about that freedom. It's quite a popular tattoo.
Okay.
Also, then there are some kind of Christian things with swallows. Apparently a swallow visited Jesus on the cross.
Interesting.
Which is nice. Yeah. And then apparently, if a swallow chooses to nest in your home, it is a sign of good fortune.
That is beautiful.
And protection. Yeah, protecting you from disease and fire and stuff, which is lovely. They have also been used as weather predictions. So if a swallow is flying low, it means it's going to rain. And if a swallow is flying high, it means it's going to be a beautiful sunny day. It's a nautical symbol for sailors. And supposedly, if a sailor drowned, for example, then the swallow would lift their soul out and take it to where it needed to go. I think the reason why there's such a close link between sailors and swallows is because they're long migratory patterns. Like, they migrate so far. So for a very long time, they're at sea. I wonder so I haven't spent much time at sea, but imagine seeing these migratory birds as you're sailing. How amazing would that be?
And I imagine in the times way back when, before faster ships, that would have been a beautiful sight, but an important one as well, because you're not seeing anything else as you go. So it really is almost that, like, hope that the land is close, or that you're going the right direction, something along those lines, because you used to spend months at sea, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to go anywhere by sea, you've got to be there for quite a long time. So you must see a lot. It must be amazing. And then there was one more thing that I thought was interesting about the swallow, and this is a historical thing.
Okay.
So fashion has not always been ethically sound, as we are very well aware. And there was one point where hats were a really big thing. Like
Yes.
the peak of fashion was to have a hat, and you would put birds on those hats, like not just the feathers, but you would actually stuff the bird and have a taxidermy bird on your hat. I cannot imagine that now, but that was a big thing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a guy, and he became kind of conscious of there's a bigger price to this than we realize. Like swallows were a very popular bird. I didn't say that. I meant to say that. Because they're so small, so beautiful, they were a very popular choice to put on your hat.
Okay.
And this guy, his name was George Bird Grinnell. And I think Bird is like a given name. I don't think he chose.
Oh my word.
I know. So he's kind of campaigned to, I guess, raise awareness of the bigger price to these hats. Like it's not just a hat, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And then from that, women in New York, they started protesting because they started to like agree with him. They were like, oh, we agree. So they started protesting. They boycotted the hats, and then they held informal tea parties, which sounds amazing,
Yes.
doesn't it?
We love a good tea party.
We love a tea party. And they paved the way for the Migratory Bird Act.
Oh.
So the Migratory Bird Act was probably not the sole contributor, but massively contributed to by these women that they realized can't have birds on our hats anymore. That's not okay. So they started boycotting, they started protesting,
Amazing.
and having informal tea parties. So yeah. Oh, forgot to say, the Migratory Bird Act forbids the indiscriminatory killing of birds. So like if you're killing birds for reasons that are not important, yeah, killing birds for your hat, well, it's illegal now because of these tea parties.
Amazing.
And George Bird Grinnell.
I wonder if it was then okay to taxidermy a dead bird that you found and then put that
I
on
think,
your hat.
yeah, I
Like,
wonder.
ethically sourced. It needed to have like a little.
I mean,
Is that
would you
ethically
want it?
sourced? No, I wouldn't. I didn't live in the time where you had birds on your hats.
No, we didn't.
No.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Anyway,
What was that called?
that's
The
the swallow.
Migratory Bird Act.
Yes.
Seeing 2 dates. These were the people in the US, yeah?
Yeah. New York.
Okay, so there's a Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, but then
Okay.
in 1916, that seems to be their original. So maybe it all just got passed in 1918, but in 1916, that's what it looks like. That's on the postage
Yeah.
stamps and on their little centennial badge. 1916 seems to be the
Nice.
date.
Okay. Also, forgot to say, and I think it's probably important to say this because we are an international podcast.
We are.
Did you know the swallow is the national bird of 2 countries? And I want you to guess which 2.
Okay, can I have a hint as to what continent they're on?
They're both Europe.
Okay, I don't know what England's national bird is. Is England one of them?
Nope.
Darn.
I can tell you about our national bird later.
It's not Romania. I don't feel like it's Italy. Is it in the Western Bloc? Or is it in the Eastern Bloc?
There's one west, one east.
Are they close to each other? Would I know these places?
I don't suppose you've been to them, but you know of them.
Albania?
Yeah. Nope.
I feel like I need to pull up my map and just start.
Should I give you clues?
Yes, please.
I'll give you a clue for one of them. Okay, one of them,
Okay.
their national dress is lederhosen.
Is it Germany or is it the Netherlands? Lederhosen? Surely
I'm
that's
pretty sure. Hang on.
Sweden.
I should check. I think no, but you're close. You're warm. You are warm. Yeah, I'm correct. Lederhosen and the dirndl. So their traditional dress, lederhosen and the dirndl.
Okay.
They have the Alps going through them.
Sweden, Switzerland.
Nope.
Who else has the Alps?
They love a beer.
Are you sure it's not the German?
Sure, it's not.
Okay, I'm pulling up my map. Is it Finland? Norway?
No.
Denmark,
You're colder,
Belgium,
cold. Oh, you're warmer though.
Luxembourg,
No, some people get it confused and think that you might find kangaroos there.
Austria.
Yeah, Austria. So swallow is the national bird of Austria, and then the other one
Okay.
is very close to Latvia.
Okay. Is it Lithuania?
No,
Is it Estonia? There is
sorry,
no
I did
way.
not. Yeah, the swallow is the national bird of Austria and
Wow.
Lithuania. No, swallow is the national bird of Austria and Estonia. There you go.
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh my gosh. Okay, we got there eventually. Thank you for that beautiful guessing game.
You're welcome. I should have planned that was going to be a game and planned some clues.
I need to work on
Yeah.
my mythology and my geography. Okay, so what I found really interesting is that um, within Southern Africa, which is South Africa, but also our neighboring countries, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, that range, is there are over 100 species of migratory birds, right?
Wow.
Of those, 44 of those are pale Palearctic. Palearctic. I don't know if that's how you would pronounce it, but basically it means that they move from South Africa or Southern Africa to Europe and vice versa. Europe, Asia, and then North Africa. And then you've got about 35 of those birds that move within Africa. So they're called intra-African migratory birds.
Okay.
And the first one that I wanted to talk to you about is the European bee eater.
Okay.
Yes. And so that is obviously a Palearctic migratory bird. It moves, as its name would suggest, from Europe down into southern Africa. And again, it's chasing the sun, right? So it's up with you guys during your summer, and it just works out really well that then when you've got winter, we've got summer. So it flies on down over here. Their breeding happens within Europe, and then they come over here for your winters. They are this beautiful color. They've got this quite brown head. I don't know if have you ever seen a European bee eater? Okay.
Maybe. So I know of bee eaters,
Okay.
and I know that they're very, very cool, but I've not. I forgot about them basically. So
Okay. So they're a relatively small bird.
colourful.
Yes, very colorful.
Yeah.
So they're a relatively small bird, and their head is quite brown. And they've got these like black stripes, almost as if they've been putting on liquid eyeliner. And then
Love
when you're
that.
trying to make them equal, and then the one gets thicker and the one gets thicker, and you just end up with these massive black stripes around your eyes. And so they've got that with a little bit of blue above their heads and a yellow chin, and then this beautiful blue body with brownish in their wings. So like quite a mixture of colors.
Yeah. Do you know where I know bee eaters from?
Where?
The Mega Image bag.
True. Okay, so yes, when we were living in Romania, Gamage is our like local shopping store, and yeah, you're right. They did have bee eaters on their bags. You are so right.
Bags for life that we all
That we all.
way too many of.
Oh my word, too many. Because you'd always get there, and you'd forget to bring your shopping bags with you. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're this beautiful, beautiful bird. And what I found really interesting is, so they don't only eat bees, they eat a variety of insects. But in order to get the sting removed from, because they'll eat bees and wasps, lots of insects that have stingers. And what they'll do is once they've got the insect, they'll hit it against like a piece of wood until it loses its stinger before they eat it. Because obviously if they eat the stinger, it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
That's how they're able to
Brutal.
it is quite would not very clever. And so often people think, okay, well, they're bee eaters, so they must be really bad for the bee environment. But they only eat about 1% of worker bees in the area. So they don't really have a big impact on the bee populations, which I think is quite interesting. And I think that's also because they do eat a variety of other insects. So they're not
Yeah, well, there'd be a balance,
only,
won't there?
there is a balance, yeah. So they're not only relying on those, which I think if they were, then there would be quite a big impact on
Yeah.
the environment. But they are often found along sandy banks near like a river shore. And I always love it. So whenever we go on like safaris, whenever you get to like a little dam or a river, we always look along the shoreline, the riverbank. And what they do is they make like a little hole in the riverbank, and that's where they live.
Oh, like a little cave.
Yeah, like a little cave, but then there's like the whole thing is just filled with these little holes, and you'll see them popping out, and it's just so cute and it's just beautiful. So that I always think is really cool. And then I read something that actually made me really upset. It took me a while to actually comprehend what I was reading because I'd been reading so much about the bees and their impact on the bees. And then they said beekeepers. I was like, a beekeeper? What kind of a bee is a beekeeper? And I realized it's a human. Because what? I mean, I was thinking it was a special type of bee. But what
The
human?
guardian of bees.
Yeah, exactly. Like a soldier bee or something. No. So what human beekeepers will do, because they're thought to have a really big impact on the bee populations, which then research has gone and shown us they don't have. But human beekeepers will go and take rocks, and when the bird is inside its home, will go and put a rock covering the exit, and then the birds can't get out.
So cruel.
And it broke my heart when I realized, because firstly I'm reading this information, I'm like, what? Sorry, a bee is able to pick up a rock. Good job on the bee. And then I realized,
Then the penny dropped,
and then
didn't
the penny
it?
dropped, and I was like, people are so cruel and horrible.
Yeah, people are cruel. But then I think it comes down to ignorance, doesn't it? They don't, like, they're just taking it on face value. They must be bad for the bees. But actually, they're not thinking about the balance, because there is a balance. And the balance makes it all okay.
Exactly. And they're eating insects that you don't want, like your wasps,
Exactly.
because bees and wasps
Exactly.
have
Without
quite
those
a tough relationship.
bees, without those bees, like we can't even predict what the issue would be.
Exactly.
Because you can't see it's all like one. It all works in a mechanism, doesn't it?
And so I'm hoping that has kind of, now that this information's come out, that they don't have a big impact on population, I'm hoping that has kind of stopped or gotten less.
Yeah.
Because that's horrible.
Yeah, and I suppose the more awareness that's raised about that sort of thing, the more people are going to take issue with it, and therefore, hopefully, it will decline, right?
Exactly.
We hope.
Yeah, so that was, I know I'm ending there on a really sad note, but I just thought it was worth mentioning that.
Well, whilst we're talking about horror stories regarding bees,
Go for it.
there was an incident perhaps about 5 years ago. I think it was during COVID, and I was at lockdown with my family. And one day, one summer's day, it was atrocious, honestly. Right, so I walk outside, and I see that there's several bumblebees on the floor. When I take a closer look, they don't have heads.
Okay.
Now I've seen the first few, I start to see loads. There's a massacre of bumblebees that don't have heads. And I go inside and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Bear in mind, during COVID-19, everyone's feeling a little bit dystopian anyway. Like, this is
Yes.
like the icing on top, and I don't know what's going on. I think we're in an apocalypse. And so we're all like looking for, well, what could this be? How is this happening? Are the bees sick? Is there a disease? Like, what's going on? Anyway, my dad's researching. Why does this happen?
Logical.
Turns out it's blue tits. So blue tits will eat bees, but they'll just like eat their head.
Okay.
I suppose to avoid the stinger, right? Because the stinger
I
would
thought bumblebees don't have stingers.
They do.
Well, they just
Might be wrong.
very docile and don't like to sting.
I know they don't like to sting because if they sting, it kills them. Bees in general.
You are
I'm
right.
sure they have.
They do have stingers.
So I think that must be why the blue tits leave the rest of the body. I've only witnessed that once in my life, so it can't be that much of a common occurrence. But when it happened, this blue tit or these blue tits must have just found a
colony.
hive.
Yeah. Wow. Well, they could learn from the European bee eater and just like
they could
hit them against something hard so that they lose their stinger, and then eat the whole thing and not waste and cause younger Hattie and her family complete stress and
inner turmoil.
Yes.
It felt like a horror movie. I mean, it still feels like one now when I
Yes.
recount it.
No, that 100%.
Yeah, that was some COVID craziness there.
Oh,
It was not good timing, birds. Not good
no.
timing.
Shame.
Okay, on a lighter note, should we talk about Swift?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Swifts are amazing. I'm just going to pause, take a step back away from Swifts for a second. Birds belong to different orders, and I don't know how many orders there are, but the biggest order is the Passeriforms. Passeriforms?
Okay.
Passerine birds are your songbirds, typically.
Okay.
The blackbird is a passeriform,
Mm-hmm.
or a passerine bird. Passerine, not sure. The swallow is also a passerine bird. And those are your typical birds. They've got like 4 claws, 3 at the front and 1 at the back, that
Okay.
hold on to things and they perch.
Yes.
They perch on things. They sing a lot. They're more primitive birds, your songbirds,
Yeah.
basically. So if you've got a beautiful song, they're probably passerine birds. Swifts are not. Swifts are something else. So they are called apodiform birds or apodiform birds. I should really have figured out how to pronounce these words. In my head, I'm pronouncing them.
Yeah.
When it comes out, it's not.
So hard,
And
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, there's only 2 birds in this order, and that's swifts and hummingbirds. And you look at a swift and you look at a hummingbird, and they look very different from each other. Like a swift looks very similar to a swallow,
Mm-hmm.
except it doesn't have the streamers, and there are a few other little differences. And a hummingbird looks nothing like a swift.
No, not at all.
But the thing between them that makes them an apodiform is that they are masters of air. So they spend the majority of their life in flight. They are master flyers, way better than any other bird in the world. Swifts, they sleep, they eat, they mate, all whilst they're flying. So they do everything apart from nesting whilst they're in the air. So literally all year round they're flying, apart from when they are laying their eggs.
So you telling me that they sleep while they're flying?
Yeah.
They don't land.
Yeah, no, so they shut off half of their brain. And I remember researching this a long time ago, and I should probably research it again because I've forgotten what it's called. But we as humans, we sleep with our whole brain.
Yes.
So our whole brain switches off.
Yeah.
And then most animals, they sleep with half of the brain.
Wow.
So one half will be awake, the other half will be asleep, and then they'll switch.
It's fascinating.
Which is
That's
pretty
incredible.
Cool. It is. So half of their brain has to be awake, the other half can sleep. So they switch.
That's insane.
Which side? It's so cool. It's so cool. But swifts are master flyers. They also fly, I think, can't remember exactly where in southern Africa they fly to, but they fly very, very far south.
Yeah.
As well.
And they spend swifts down here. So
yeah, and I think
come all the way.
Definitely, yeah. And I read something that said that if a swift lived for 20 years old, I don't think they do, but if they did, they would fly the entire distance to the moon and back or something.
That's I know, it's crazy. Amazing.
That's how much flying they do. So they are master flyers. They know how to do this. And hummingbirds too are master flyers.
Yes.
They fly and fly and fly and fly. And because of that, like they have some peculiarities in their like, I guess, wing formation that is different to all other kinds of birds. So that's the similarity between them. Anyway, they are apodiforms, and swifts, they like to live different from the barn swallows. They like to live in your towns. So they nest in the eaves of houses or churches. So like a bit where the roof is a bit overhanging or something. They love to live there. I remember when I was a child, I had a friend that I used to go and spend a lot of time with at her house, and we would watch the swifts because we could see where they were nesting all in the eaves of her house. It was really nice.
It was cool.
And so they love houses, sadly, but not addressable, are declining because they're not finding habitat anymore, really. Like the modern architecture and the way that we build our houses to keep the heat in effectively and efficiently, and the way that basically our housing structure has evolved means that there's less suitable properties for them to be living in. And that's happening more and more and more. And so they're finding fewer and fewer places to nest. But it is possible to put nest boxes up. So to kind of fight that decline, it's so possible if houses, like it should perhaps be something that houses have to put a nest box in. like under the or at the top of their roof, it's not going to affect the house in any way. It's just going to bring those swifts somewhere
Yeah.
to live. So nest boxes are so important for swifts because they need to come to us, they need to go to you, they need to have that change, they need to migrate so that they can be in those spaces that are the most suited to them. But if they've got nowhere to live, then they're going to struggle. And it's really important as well because they come back to the same site every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they pair for life as well, which I love finding out birds that pair
Yes,
for life. I think
I
that's
do as
beautiful.
well.
And swifts do. They pair for life and they always go back to the same site. So where they nested last year, they come back and they nest again every year. So again, that's so important. If you end up getting swifts, they'll come back every single year.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. They also love flying insects and their call is more of a screech. And
Yeah.
a lot of people get swifts and swallows mixed up because they look very similar. They often fly together and they look similar as they fly. They've both got very elegant, sweeping, I call it swallowing, flying, but their calls are different. And the swifts, they don't have that streamer. And they also don't have a full cream belly. They just have a cream throat. So there's
Okay.
subtle differences,
Yes.
but there are differences. They both have a forked tail though, so that can be where the confusion comes in.
Yeah. Especially if they're flying away from you, I suppose that's really all you see. And so it can
Yeah,
be that confusion. Yeah.
exactly. Especially when you're looking at them against the sky, like the sky is bright, so everything that's in the sky looks dark,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It's all silhouetted. So it's harder to tell. They are, let's go to mythology, a symbol for restlessness and adventure, which makes a lot of sense because they're always moving.
Yeah.
They're never sitting down, they're never sitting still. They are also a symbol for speed, freedom, agility, and elevation.
Okay. Making a lot of
And
sense, especially because of how far they fly.
exactly, and joy as well. I
Oh,
suppose that must come from the feeling of like, if you feel like you're flying, you feel joyful, don't you?
exactly, for
And if
sure.
Swift is a beautiful symbol for that. And they're also a very popular tattoo, aren't they? I think
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few Swift tattoos,
Yeah.
and I think it's always meant something different to them, which there's so many things that the Swift symbolizes. So it's a very beautiful, versatile symbol of
Yeah.
kind of who you are and how you resonate with the world, which I love. Again, thought to carry souls into the afterlife and thought to be a divine messenger as well,
Interesting.
which, yeah. Bringer of rain. According to the Native Americans, they always show up before a massive storm.
That's really
So
cool.
they're another weather predictor. Yeah, yeah, it is. And in Asia, they represent rebirth and renewal.
Oh,
So it is a nice one too, isn't it?
sure, Hattie. That's so interesting. All the information about like the swifts, and I love that you always cover all the mythology side of things. I think it's always fun. So my other migratory bird that I looked at is an intra-African migratory bird. So they stay within Africa. And that is
Okay.
the woodland kingfisher.
Kingfisher.
Little bit obsessed with kingfishers. They breed in southern Africa during the summer, and then they head up to like South Sudan and Central African Republic during the non-breeding seasons. They are about a medium-sized bird, so they're about 23 centimeters in length, and they have this bright blue back, which is just gorgeous. And then they've also got blue wing panels, and their tail is also blue. And then their head, neck, and the underneath of their body is white, and they've got like black shoulders. So they're this gorgeous mix of the black and the blue and the white. And then they've got quite a large bill. So their beak is quite long, and then it's got a red top, and then the bottom piece is black. And so also it looks like this little almost like an ombre. It's really, really cool. Yeah, and so it's actually much larger of a beak than I would say the malachite kingfisher is. And so, like their name suggests, they are a woodland kingfisher. So they're found more in the woodland spaces. They don't have to be so close to water because they'll eat an array of other things as well. So they are kingfishers, they do eat fish, but they'll also eat small amphibians, rodents, crabs, and insects. So kind of whatever they
Mm-hmm.
can find. And what I thought was super interesting about them is, and I feel like we've spoken about how in our episode, which episode was it? Where we spoke about how the borer, the boring insects, the insects that bore into the wood, then also create spaces for, it was last week where we were talking about how they then create the space for the solitary bees to create their homes, right? Um, and so with the woodland kingfisher, they nest in tree holes that were excavated by woodpeckers and barbets.
Yeah, okay.
So they just reuse that space that's already been created for them, which is just really smart.
It is so cool how they recycle these homes, isn't it? Because it'll start with the borer or it'll start with the
Yeah.
woodpecker sometimes. And then there'll be so many different things that go in and live there. And each time it becomes a more suitable home for somebody else. And then somebody else will come in. It's like property development,
Exactly. I'm
isn't it?
thinking you've got all these renters coming in at different times of the year.
Exactly. I'll do it up for the next people. And then the next people are like the mice.
Exactly.
And then they do it up for the woodpeckers.
And it's just this beautiful cycle of how nature's all interconnected and how they all help each other and support each other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the more we research, the more we're realizing how interconnected they all are, which is something that
Yes.
scientists have been trying to explain for years. If you
Yeah.
remove one piece of that, it really does make a massive difference, right?
Yeah, it sets off the balance, doesn't it?
Completely. And then your insects are, there's too many insects or there's not enough birds, or it really just messes with that balance. And so I thought
Yeah,
it was really
really.
cool that they recycle the space that the barbets and the woodpeckers are creating.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I always like to imagine what their homes would look like as well. I don't know if I've said this before, but like what
Yeah.
their home would look like inside or the mouse's home would look like inside. And I always imagine it a lot more cozy than it probably is. With a fire, like a log burner,
Yeah, some
a
books.
stove, a bookshelf.
House plants. You've got to have a house plant.
Exactly, a beautiful fluffy rug. Yeah.
Don't think they're quite that comfortable.
No, but we can dream.
We can. And I think also like once we have our spaces, it would be fascinating. I do see people on like YouTube or Instagram that do this, but like it'd be also really cool to do like alongside the forest school stuff is like have almost like a little camera set up in those hidey holes and
Yeah.
like recording and seeing how it changes and how the eggs develop and they grow. And I always think that's really cool when I see those on.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a really nice way to get people connected with it, isn't it? When I always think if let's say for example we're working with a group of kids and we decide to put wildlife
Mm-hmm.
camera out, maybe in a nest box or something,
Yeah.
and they choose where they're going to put it. Like we give them some options, they choose where they're going to put it, and then the footage you can get Wi-Fi, like you can upload them via Wi-Fi
Oh
onto
wow.
your devices now. So like then you could kind of share that footage with them and keep them updated and you check it together and it becomes a really
Mm,
exciting thing. Oh, what have they been up to today? And then they start to care a lot about it because they're invested now in the story. And you could tie it in with like a bird box building project or a bird feeder building project, and suddenly they've got motivation and a purpose for doing it because
exactly.
they feel connected with those birds or something. I think that's a lovely
It is.
idea.
And also, how often do we in schools? I don't know if it's actually a thing over there, but often schools, preschools, more often than primary schools, will get in like chicken eggs and
Mm,
incubator, and so you'll watch the chicks hatch, and so there's that whole process. But this is just a much cooler way to leave it more natural and
yeah, wild,
not get involved in it
unpredictable.
and kind of just watch it all happen, which is really
It is.
yeah.
It
So
is.
that would be really cool one day once we've got our spaces organized and spots set up for our forest school.
I know.
Yeah,
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, that would be cool.
So, Caitlin, what's your understory of the week?
Well, there's just been so much time that I've been spending now within nature, being down in Cape Town. Cape Town is just a really beautiful space for nature and natural spaces. We've got the mountains, we've got the sea. But what I really loved, and I want to talk a little bit more, I know I mentioned at the beginning, but my friend and I went to the Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens. And what I just really loved about it is often botanical gardens, they're very well kept, they're very well managed, they're very manicured and organized into certain spaces, right? And what I really appreciated about how this one had been organized was that it was all done very cleverly and it was very well thought out. So they had different pockets of different types of plants. And so if you were looking to see your proteas, which are a very special plant here in South Africa, and actually our national flower is the protea. And there's a whole garden of proteas. Obviously, being very clever about not just having proteas there. They've got other plants mixed in, and yeah, it was beautifully done. And what I loved as well was they were different walks that you could do. They had one area, and being winter, it was not as beautiful and amazing as I think it will be in a couple weeks, couple months. But there was a whole like sensory garden, all based on smells. So you walk through and you could smell all the different plants. And I was going through, I felt like I was attacking the plants. These poor plants were being rubbed left, right, and center. But it was just so beautiful. And they try really hard to make sure that it's all native and natural to the environment. And it was just these beautiful walks that we could go on, and gorgeous plants that you don't get to see anywhere else in Southern Africa, or very rarely in other places. They did have some plants from elsewhere, but then we're very careful about where they planted them and how they look after them. They had the most gorgeous greenhouse that we went into, and as we walked in, I thought, oh, it's not that hot. The longer I spent in the greenhouse, it's like, oh, okay, no, it's very warm in here. And so that was all the arid plants, all those desert plants that don't need a lot of water. It's just this beautiful warm space. And it was really interesting as well to see the different plants that are found throughout desert areas, because that's not really something that's easy to go and explore. It was just fascinating. So there was this one plant that my friend and I were in awe of, which was like this massive bulb which was under the ground, but then it just had these two very long, very like flat leaves that just kind of lay on the ground. It was really weird. We were like, this is a very strange looking plant. It was really interesting. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was just really cool. And so I think also just realizing that there's so many different types of plants out there, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, and they've all adapted to a specific way of living, right? That was just really interesting to see and explore. I think the sensory walk was my favorite, where I got to smell all the things.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds so dreamy.
Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. I really enjoyed that, and I think that was just a really good experience, and to see that it can be done very nicely and well. I think often if the people in charge don't care and they're just creating a green space, they're just creating.
You can tell they don't.
Whereas this was very beautifully curated and created for those special moments.
Yeah, very intentionally created, it sounds like, too, to actually have a themed space. I think, especially sensory wise, it just gives you another way to connect, doesn't it? You're not just looking at them, or I don't know, feeling the plants, if that's what you're doing, but you're smelling them too. It smells so good.
Yeah, and connecting those smells to different things that we see and smell.
Yeah. I love herb gardens. They're always such a beautiful experience.
They are. They're always a lot of fun. But I also have an understory of the week from a friend of mine.
Yeah,
so
let's hear it.
I'm going to read it off of my phone. And so this is from one of my previous colleagues, Shireen. She's from South Africa as well. And so she said she's got nothing too exciting, but here it goes. I think it is. It's just really fun. So, Bishop's Bird Park is free entry and pet friendly, a mini nature reserve, and a park offering a peaceful escape with some walking trails. It's a tiny escape from city life. My outside experience in Bishop's Park was seeing all the birds and mini beasts making their slow return from our cold winter. These trees and plants are filled with new leaves, and some flowers have started to bloom. The bees, butterflies, and ladybugs are flying from each flower. The day that she went there, she saw bishops, and in Afrikaans we call them queervoëls, which are a very typical South African bird. They used to be called the grey lories, and I will tell you all about them next time.
Okay.
Then recently had a name change, and they've been changed to the go-away birds, and that is got to do with the sound that they make, not because we want them to go away. She says, it's like the flora and fauna are welcoming us to spring. And I just thought that was a beautiful summary of like what we spoke about last week in terms of seeing those signs of spring.
And it's such a beautiful description of something that's so relatable to all of us that experience spring, because I know that not everybody gets the opportunity to experience spring across the world, but those of us that do, we can relate to that so deeply. That was such a beautiful description that just I felt very invested with every word. That was gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. And I love that you're finding time and space to go and enjoy nature.
You can just feel from your description as well how calm and the mindset that environment is giving you. You're stepping out of the everyday life and stepping into that nature, and you're taking that pace that Ralph Waldo Emerson was telling you to take. Yeah, it just gets you taking a step back and being present in the moment, doesn't it?
Completely.
It's beautiful.
It is.
I feel like I was there. Thank you, Shireen.
Oh, yeah. So if anybody else would like to share an understory of the week, we would love to hear from you and share your stories alongside ours. You can pop us a message. We are at understory_learning on Instagram, but you can also pop us an email. Our email address is understorylearning@gmail.com. And with that, I think we've come to the end of today's podcast.
Yeah, we have.
Thank you all for joining us. We really hope that you enjoyed this little adventure that we took you on talking about migratory birds, and that you enjoyed hearing what we've been up to. We would love to hear what you've been up to. Please reach out, and we look forward to chatting with you guys and sharing more information next time.
Yes, send us your bird pictures.
Yeah, any birds that you see and any information as well. What is your favorite bird? We'd love to know.
Yeah, tell us. Hey everyone, thank you.